Jones.
Kia ora no tātou. Sort of up and down the country, one hopes that members of the financial community are taking note that pieces of legislation are wending their way through Parliament, and although they really, sir, are a belated reaction in terms of the $6 billion odd that has gone west associated with the failure of multiple finance companies. You see, sir, that was New Zealand's episode of the subprime mortgage crisis. We're told that the derivatives, opaque and complex, numbering trillions of dollars, actually lay beneath the collapse of much of the financial system in Northern Europe and the United States of America. And whilst, sir, much of our financial apparatus was spared such pain, we have lived through the loss of $6.5 billion worth of toilers, garden varieties, kiwis, wealth gone up in smoke. Now, sir, those organisations actually had a very important role to fulfil. Mezzanine finance, i.e. providing a level of financial support for investors and entrepreneurs beyond what a bank could prudentially allocate. Makes you wonder, sir, had those types of people been in charge of our major trading banks, one shudders to think what the result may have been. I'm no fan, sir, that other than Kiwi Bank, we actually are stuck with Aussie-owned banks, but those banks remained stable, sir, during the recent financial imbroglio, but many of these finance companies have turned to custard. And this bill won't bring, unfortunately, sir, that money back in any manner or form. And let us not forget the size of the loss and the fact that an entire generation of savers have watched their wealth vanish. One of the most extraordinary examples, sir, which hopefully the protagonists behind the failed Hanover investment, it's hard to imagine that the long arm of the law will ever catch up with them, but who knows. But, sir, just to show why a bill of this nature and extreme vigilance is needed, once the original owners of Hanover had passed over the spoiled goods onto Allied Finance, and what do we read about in the newspaper now? They too are teetering on the point of absolute collapse. So, sir, I preface my remarks because we actually did not move with enough pace to actually bring to justice the people who society had posited their trust with. And we're going to live to regret that, because it is difficult, sir, now to get a range of projects up and going. Whilst capital may be there, it's very cheery and it's very frightened of falling again into the hands of the characters who have ruined people's lives. As we've said earlier, sir, we support this bill. Now, but will this bill, sir, enhance the confidence of savers to bring money back into circulation so it fulfills this mezzanine purpose? I'd hesitate to agree that it will, other than the fact it's an important building block on a long road to recovery, sir. My colleague Leanne Dalziel had a key role in launching the work related to the Capital Markets Development Task Force. Because, sir, I don't fully subscribe to the notion that New Zealand is short of capital. I prefer the approach that New Zealand has capital, but it is both misallocated and at the moment It's a very shy capital. It's staying in an area where it's unlikely to be squandered as a consequence of dodgy decision makers. And so this apparatus has got to fulfil the purpose of causing a new source of capital to be made available to the firms, the entrepreneurs, the investors in our country, because it's only through investment that we're going to create jobs, or it's only through investment, sir, that we're going to enhance the number of firms that will produce a greater level of goods and services, hopefully to generate foreign exchange earnings. So once a celebrated case is seized upon and the culprits in a given case are jumped upon from a great height, whether it's the style of compliance pursued by the IRD, which tends to, in my assessment, search out for egregious examples of wrongdoing, smash them hard, and then hope and trust that the severe punitive measures visited upon the culprits sends a message, sir, out to a wider group of people. Well, that is really what needs to happen as a consequence of the passage of these bills. There's an enormous contrast, sir. You can watch television and hapless individuals who have been fast and loose with the funds of American citizens are marched out of their offices, surrounded by heavy FBI emblazoned jackets wearing, I daren't say goons, but very frightening individuals. However, in Aotearoa, New Zealand, sir, those wrongdoers often go away for a holiday overseas, come back. Yes, well, he's a particularly unpleasant chap, the man who is in Hawaii, Hotchkins. Yep. Well, Mr. Key has got enough explaining to do in terms of what has been his role in relation to Mr. Hubbard's empire, but with the fullness of time, no doubt information will continue to trickle to this side of the House in that regard. Yes, well, there you go. The quantity of the information, whilst it may take a while to sieve through, contains a number of nuggets. Of that we can be sure. The point I want to make, though, sir, is that unless the regulators are able to visit significant criminal consequences on culprits, then I fear that the garden variety kiwi, with their several $100,000 odd, etc., is going to be at risk again. Now, sir, too much of the capital that we referred to as mezzanine capital ended up in the hands of people who fed an asset price spike through commercial property investments, residential property investments, and land conversions, sir. Now, none of those are inherently wrong, but when you have a significant misallocation, and, sir, when the asset prices become decoupled from the cash-generating capacity of the actual asset, then you're on a hiding to nothing in the event that capital prices don't keep rising. So, at one level, sir, it's important that we as savers show some due diligence. At another level, sir, it's important that the people we trust are aware that if they break that trust and they act in a fashion that is reckless, fast and loose, then they personally, sir, will bear the consequences. They personally will lose their liberty. They personally will be ruined in terms of their reputations in that sector. And, sir, the reasons that we support these two bills is because we feel that it's an important step in that direction. But just, sir, as I finish, to give an indication how difficult it is, I felt ill as I read the newspaper the other day, sir, and saw that the person representing the ratings agency that looked at various aspects of the Hubbard empire said, oh, well, we may have been a little casual. We may have been insouciant in relation to the level of information we asked for. as if they have no responsibility whatsoever. So despite the loss of 6